At Integrity, we believe increased quality and efficiency are products of our commitment to innovation and process evolution. And that belief is realized through our investments in our systems and our team. We manufacture large-scale complex injection molds for clients from around the world by leveraging a complete system that takes projects from feasibility and design to manufacturing, assembly, and optimization, all while seamlessly integrating into our clients' workflow. Integrity. We are living innovation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Pryweller, Conference Director for Plastics News. Welcome to Ask the Expert at the 2020 Women Breaking the Mold Conference. Ask the Expert is your chance to engage with professionals on a range of topics and to interact with questions. Today's expert is Joanne Trikulis, Brand and Marketing Manager for Integrity Tool and Mold. Joanne will focus on the importance of branding, reviewing best practices, and discussing the importance of branding being an operational priority in an organization. She will answer your questions after the presentation. To submit a question, email pnevents@crane.com, or if you're watching along via Plastics News, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube sites, submit your questions through those platforms. With that, I will turn things over to Joanne Trikulis of Integrity Tool and Mold.
Hi, everyone.
Take it away, Joanne.
Hi there. I'm speaking to you from Integrity's headquarters in Windsor, Ontario. We're just one of 11 locations in Canada, US, and Mexico. So on behalf of the team at Integrity, hello and hola. We are so honored to be part of Women Breaking the Mold. Thank you for having us. So today we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, but not marketing in general, because we can all market. We're going to talk about the importance of marketing and how it could impact your business. So with that, let's begin. We are all familiar with the term "a seat at the table." And in our industry, it's often reserved for those that make the most influential decisions and direct your business. So from our standpoint, sales is one of the seats at the tables because they own the customer relationships and they can forecast what's coming next. Operation, another big player at the table, they own the end-to-end process. So they have total control on quality as well as functionality. And then there's finance. They monitor all the dollars coming in and out. But I'm here today to talk about marketing and how marketing should have a seat at the table and how it could impact your business. So why not marketing? It's a discipline that can have great impact. So let's begin. Next slide, please. So if you were part of the OESA and had a chance to listen to the Harbor Results team, they talked about a lot of the new norms in the industry. They mentioned a slower economy and that we were actually already in a global recession before COVID even began. They talked about changes in the automotive market, which include a reduction in the models and trims. They talked about politics, election, and global relations and their direct impact on us. And when it pertains to trade and how we compete with low-cost countries, we're actually seeing a shift to new low-cost countries. So that will always exist. So all this is happening. This is what we have to deal with. And COVID is still in place and probably not going anywhere anytime soon. So it's important right now with all this stuff going on, the importance of standing out is more relevant. So it's becoming tougher to win business. So let's go on to the next slide and talk about current customer relationships. So in the plastic injection solution provider industry, one-to-one relationships are still very vital to our success. And yes, you see a picture of Don Draper and Roger Sterling, but that's not because we have madmen in the industry. It's because they knew the importance of one-to-one relationships. They knew how to maintain relationships. They knew how to keep customers. They knew what was right and what was wrong, and that still exists today. So marketing cannot replace those very important relationships, but what we can do is we can complement it and we can fill in the gaps. So now let's talk about some of these gaps. Next slide, please. So the reality, our virtual reality, is that customers are both known and anonymous. So here are some examples of anonymous customers. So if you think about your customers and their customers and the large organizations, purchasing teams now are becoming larger and larger. They have audits and checklists and do a lot of research before you can even be a potential supplier. And if you think about these growing departments and the research that they're doing, and you think about the employees, millennials make up a large portion of these research teams. By 2025, millennials, by 2025, 3 out of every 4 employees at your company will be millennials. Millennials have high expectations when it comes to technology. And we have to make sure that our brand is embraced, is ingrained in technology. And HR, that's another major factor. So employees, before they even become candidates for you, they will research your company. If they're not feeling your vibe, they will move on. So relationships that took days, months, and years to exist could be over in hours and minutes. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about how we get it right. So when I typically talk about marketing or anything in general, I like to get my definitions aligned. So when I think of marketing, I think about it in 3 parts. There's your brand identity. That's your story. Brand marketing. So these are the channels and the content that support you. And then your brand image. This is how you are perceived in the marketplace. And if all these things don't mesh, then you're not doing a good job telling your story. So let's talk about each one of these in a bit more detail. Next slide, please. So brand identity. So if you think about some of your biggest brands, the brands that have huge research, R&D dollars, can hire some of the best advertising and biggest advertising agencies in the world. They have one thing in common. I'm talking about Nike, I'm talking about Apple, Google, our largest brands. Their message is very clear, it's concise, and it's consistent. And consistency is a big deal. If you think about recently, just the last 4 years in the US elections, consistency in terms of words that were said, continue to resonate. I will forever relate the word caravan, not so much to the Dodge brand anymore, but a group of people, only because, a group of people heading to the border. So if you think about the impact consistency makes, that's a perfect example. And Donald Trump does a great job of that. Distinct though, that's really important. So think about your brand and who you are. Most people will say, well, we're innovative or we're customer centric. Well, these are words we're all supposed to be. So think about what makes you unique in the marketplace. So when I first joined Integrity, I noticed a couple of things. Yes, we were innovative. We were very innovative. We were, quality was number 1. We were a customer-centric company. But what made us distinct? Well, it didn't take me long to figure out for such a large organization. We're one of, I believe we're the 3rd largest in North America right now, and we're known for large, complex projects. But what people don't realize on the outside, perhaps, is that when you enter our doors here, the vibe you feel is very unique and different. You get this comfort feeling of a very small niche, shop or cafe. And that starts with our president, for example. So our president can often be seen in the mold making department, actually working with the mold making apprentice. You won't see him in a fancy suit. Our customers stick around all day. They have their own rooms, they kick their feet up, do whatever meetings that they need to do, work with us in the tryout area, and they look like they're one of the employees. And then if you think about, because we're so large, 11 locations, that's pretty big. We have a lot of really cool, neat shops within our big circus tent. So we have a small tooling division that's very distinct with their own skill set. We have ultra precision machining, which I'm in that area right now. So you might hear a machine or two as part of this presentation. But what I want to talk to you about is that feeling you get. So my job as a marketer, I need to make sure that that feeling you feel, that our clients feel when they enter our doors, it is also felt outside in our digital space. So that's what I mean about brand identity. Next slide, please. And then there's brand marketing. So we can all market. There's really cool website tools out there like WordPress and Wix. All of us can market. We market every day, but it's how you market. So I'm not gonna talk about best practices for a website, because websites have been around for a long time now, but it's how you deliver. And think about some non-traditional delivery tools as well, like Reddit. Participate in dialogue, create an opportunity to engage, answer some scientific or subject matter expertise questions, and then content plan. So this to me is so important. You can have all the delivery tools in the world, and you can work with the best software that's out there, but you're only as good as the content that supports you. So one of the things that I recommend is having a playbook. If you can, if you know what's going on, if you have that seat at the table, you can actually put together a really good planning document that highlights key things that you need to communicate at the right time. But how would you know them if you didn't have the seat at the table? So next slide, please. And yes, you see a picture of Lizo. And the reason why you see a picture of her is because I like her. She makes me feel good. And that's what she's supposed to do. The other reason why you see her up here is because I've highlighted one of my favorite songs, Truth Hurts, because the truth does hurt. And often, if you think about the slide with the lion and the kitten, just because you think you're a lion doesn't mean everybody else is going to think you're a lion. So really pay attention and make sure that all your analytics are set up so that you can monitor website traffic, your social media. You need to pay attention to all of that. The one thing I did here at Integrity is I believe that employees are your best advocates. When I first started in the marketing space, I made sure to send out a survey to all our employees to find out exactly what they thought of us. So one of the KPIs I have for myself, I'm going to do a survey again in a year or two. If the employees aren't getting who we're supposed to be, then I've done something wrong. But if that brand survey in 1 year is way better than when I first started, then I've done my job right. So next slide, please. And the right team. I can't say this enough, but having the right team in place is really important. Just because your cousin's neighbor's kid can build a website doesn't mean that should be who you hire for marketing. You need to hire companies, or you need to have a team that has the same vision, the same values, people who really get you. So for us, we work with two teams. We have a brand and marketing team, and then we have a content team. This is an organization that comes in and films and does photographs. We've separated the two, but we've made sure that we have, we've worked with one company, Suede, they're a global operation. They've done a lot in manufacturing, a lot in automotive, and they are just somebody who really understands us. So that's a team that we don't even think of them as suppliers anymore. They've become partners because we've built that trust. Next slide. So in summary, we only had a short time to speak, and I can go into anything in more detail if you like at a later time. But in summary, we talked about the importance of marketing because of our need to stand out. Current market conditions make it more important than ever. Customers are both known and anonymous, so we can't just rely on those one-to-one relationships anymore. We talked about the best approach and those 3 silos and making sure that they're orchestrated properly and that they work together. And if you play it right and you have the right balance of that art and science, no different than the planning of a major machine investment at your shop, you will stand out. So I hope I made a really good business case for ensuring that marketing has a seat at your table. And the one thing that I want to point out as far as marketing, I've been in the industry for probably over 20 years. I was fortunate enough to work in the Detroit and Toronto area, and I've worked with some amazing women who have just crushed those glass ceilings. So with that, I want to thank you, and I am open to any questions.
Thanks, Joanne. Terrific presentation. You summarized it nicely in the 10, 12 minutes that we had here for that. And now it's time to take questions. You can email your questions to us at pnevents@crane.com, as you see on the scroll at the bottom of your screen there. Or if you want to respond, if you're watching these along on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, you can use those platforms to ask your questions. Joanne, I'll get started with a question here. Sustainability has become obviously a hot topic the last couple of years in the plastics industry, as we all know. How important is environmental responsibility in marketing? Is that an issue for plastics companies or tooling companies for that matter?
Well, think about a lot of the young people that are looking for jobs right now. Probably the most impressive, words like plastics and chemicals are probably not the best words to use on your website. So when you're communicating about yourself, look at some of the best and the biggest. So DuPont is a perfect example. They talk a lot about essential innovations. They talk about what they're doing to make the world a better place. Environmental responsibility could be a lot of things. It could be how you recycle. It could be what you're doing in the community. So here in Windsor, we live along one of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie. So why not partner with someone in the community an organization in the community that cleans up lakes? Be a part of that, sponsor them, or use some of your sources for disposal. There's so many things that you can do to promote good, but the reality is plastics is a necessity today, and it was necessary most recently with the need for PPE and respirators.
Is that something you should promote on your website and all over? Should you make that part of your brand identity, in other words?
Of course, definitely. You should be designating a whole area to your environmental responsibility for certain.
Great. We got a question that came in via our LinkedIn platform. How do you track ROI for marketing and branding?
So there's lots of ways to. So often you can do it indirectly by correlating sales with things that you've done online. You can also at the campaign level, often when you send something out, you can base it on timing. So if you see a lift in website visits, or you see a lift in sales following a major communication, and plastic injection molds, when we introduce something new, so ultra precision lighting is something that's really heavy in the industry too. So your clients are going to want to know about your major machine investments and what's new, and if you can meet their criteria. So if you send a message out, and you use timing as to correlate that information, then you know that your marketing you know that your campaign was effective if your clients, if more clients are reaching out to you. And of course, paying attention to your social media.
Great. You mentioned as part of that anyway that marketing is one of the key areas along with operations and sales and finance. Do they always do you see companies always integrate some of marketing in with those departments and not treating them as a separate bucket? I guess anyway, do they give it the credence that it deserves? I guess marketing in some cases, or integrate it with the rest of the organizational areas.
Oh, absolutely. Marketing, you have to think about the entire company's vision. You're a machine. It's an end-to-end process. So everything has to be integrated, but you can do standalone when it comes to some of your operational stuff. We are known, I mentioned this earlier, but we are known in the business because of our large size for being able to build large, complex tools. But we have a small tooling division with a dedicated staff, dedicated processes that can compete with a lot of these smaller shops. So that's a message that definitely has, that is standalone and deserves a lot of standalone attention, but it also has to be part of the big equation.
Great. So a little bit of both anyway,
Yeah.
which leads to a question too. You mentioned how large companies put together their marketing, their brand identity, and some of that. How can a small, medium-sized company build a good and impactful brand without a large investment if they don't have the budget for that?
Well, definitely, again, partnering with people. So large, your large companies with R&D dollars, they partner with huge ad agencies, but there are a lot of local companies that are subject matter experts as well. For me, when I think about partnering with someone, I want to make sure that they have all the right tools in place, because one person, just because they can build a website doesn't mean they can write, and writing is essential. That's where all your, Jedi mind tricks live. So you want to make sure that you're working with a company that has good writers, good UX and design people who have like dedicated IT professionals and programmers. And you can get that. There's a lot of talented small shops in every city that you can definitely work with. So that's one way. The other way is making sure that within your company, you have at least one person who can orchestrate that. Don't assign marketing to your admin or to the person in charge of mold making. Make sure that you have a marketing expert in-house who can handle all of that for you, write your brand identity, work with the right people. But to me, that's the best way, at least having that one person.
Excellent. So as you said, it all comes down to people in some cases too. For the first point you made there anyway, finding the right people and that can handle some of this.
We're in the business of building molds. We're not in the business of doing marketing. So I think leave that to the experts and partner with people who know what they're doing.
Definitely. And we talked about different buckets, operations, sales, et cetera. Is human resources also an important part of brand and marketing?
Yes, human resources is very important when it comes to marketing. I mentioned earlier that a lot of people who are looking for jobs will often research your company before they even apply. And if they're not big in your vibe, they might not even apply. So you might lose out on a lot of great people. And if your organization is great, when you walk through the doors, you just need to make sure that your organization looks great outside as well.
Culture obviously is critical with some of that, and can you set some of that HR helps set too, I imagine.
Yeah, HR has to be part of it has to be part of your brand identity.
Definitely. I guess I should ask you, since we're at the Women Breaking the Mold conference, besides an organization branding and marketing itself, should individuals also market themselves too? Let's say females joining a male-dominated organization, for instance, and they want to have a seat at the table too, and have their voice be heard. Are there ways that these individuals can use some marketing tools too to help with some of that?
Of course they can. So I believe in personal brand. I think an organization needs to an organization needs to be open to personal brands for certain. What that means to me is, and especially with mold shops, often you will see two people walk into an organization wearing, white button-down shirts, kind of like I am today, and ties. And it's very, Fred and Barney. I think you should be open to people's personal brands. Some shops won't even hire people with tattoos. And I think that's really dumb because you look at the next generation of workers. Chances are your boss will probably be full of tattoos. So I think be open to people's personal brands. Otherwise, you're just soldiers, and celebrate your personal brand.
Excellent. Let me ask you too, how is Integrity doing this as far as how did Integrity Tool set up its own personal brand identity? What is it marketing, and how is some of that being rolled out and created? If you could just give us a little more background on what Integrity is doing in that area.
Sure. So we're just getting started. So the great thing about Integrity is we have a pretty cool brand. We're known for researching and exploring some of the next generation machines, and a lot of people follow what we're doing. And we're very proud of that. But we're a very humble organization. At least our president makes sure that we're really humble about who we are. My job is to make sure that we just do a better job marketing ourselves outside our doors. So one of the things that we're doing right now is we're building that brand identity. We're working with a partner to make sure that our brand guideline is exactly what we need it to be. The next thing that we're going to do is by January, we're going to have a new website up that supports that. And we're going to change everything or refine everything internally to make sure that everything is synced up. And we should be launched with our major channels probably in the first quarter of 2021. And those are some of the major things that we're doing. We're also working on content, so that's really great. We've got 11 major investments that have just launched at Integrity and that we're working on right now. So our film crew, the company that I mentioned earlier, they're working very close with us just to make sure that they've captured that in our content library.
Excellent. Last question I have for you. We're all living in the virtual world. I know your presentation can't be live for us. This has to be all virtually done, and a lot of our meetings and everything else. How does that play into marketing? I know you talked at first about the Mad Men scenario about building relationships and touching other people. Does having to do things virtually at the moment impact that incredibly, or how do you get around that in a positive way?
So obviously in the shop, I mean, we have to be, at the machines. So we just make sure that one of the things that we have done on the virtual level is our design team. Most of them are now working from home using Zoom. When it comes to our clients, a lot of clients can't travel. So we've set up our tryout area where they were used to coming and spending a couple days at. That is now virtual. So most of the stuff that we were able to do in person with clients, we're now doing virtually. So at first, it seemed, just because it was new and different, not everybody was comfortable with it, but it didn't take long. And when this pandemic is over and we're able to travel a lot more, I have a feeling that people are going to, to save money, that people are going to continue doing some of the virtual, doing the virtual trials that we've done and that we're currently doing, I mean.
Definitely. It sounds like some of the ways we're working right now will stay with us even after the pandemic. A lot of cases. Joanne, do you have any parting comments or final words you want to leave the audience with concerning branding and marketing?
No, just that I'm just really grateful for this experience, and keep the questions coming. I'd be happy to answer. Via email.
Excellent. And to that end, first of all, I want to thank Joanne Terkulis of Integrity Tool and Mold for a great presentation and for answering all my probing questions there. Did a great job. And as Joanne said, for additional questions, you can email Joanne at her email address on the screen if you want to follow up with her on this topic. She'd be happy to speak with you. And I want to mention too that join us again today for the Women Breaking the Mold conference at 2 p.m. Eastern Time as we present a young professionals panel that will showcase strategies and opportunities to grow and have your voices be heard. And tomorrow we'll kick off a full day of great presentations at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with a leadership workshop facilitated by renowned author and speaker Charlotte Allen. At 10:30, we'll hear from Karen Reed of Caber Communications, presenting on leveraging the power of communications. And don't forget, tomorrow at noon Eastern, we have another Ask the Expert session, this time with Influx, speaking about building a culture and an organization that's stronger by embracing our differences. Finally, tomorrow afternoon, we have 2 lively sessions in store. At 2 o'clock Eastern Time, we have a special panel on working with mentors and mentees. And at 3:30 p.m., we end the day tomorrow by hearing from Doreen Becker, Global Director of Sustainability at Ampeset, who'll talk about 10 tips to navigate the workplace. As a reminder, today's Ask the Expert, as well as all conference sessions, will be available for viewing anytime on the Women Breaking the Mold virtual site. We also want to remind our attendees that you can make connections throughout the virtual event through the virtual event platform and schedule meetings and video chats all this week. I'm Joe Pryweller with Plastics News. Thank you for watching today. We'll conclude this Ask the Expert session by showing a video from our sponsor. Thank you.
At Integrity, we believe increased quality and efficiency are products of our commitment to innovation and process evolution. And that belief is realized through our investments in our systems and our team. We manufacture large-scale complex injection molds for clients from around the world by leveraging a complete system that takes projects from feasibility and design to manufacturing, assembly, and optimization, all while seamlessly integrating into our clients' workflow. Integrity. We are living innovation.